Hello YouTubers, today or tonight, whenever you're watching this, I am doing not really a Spider-Man No Way Home review, more like Spider-Man theories, Spider-Man theories from coming from No Way Home into more like sequels and team-up movies. So, and I'm sorry I haven't been doing more Spider-Man PlayStation reviews because I've been a little distracted, a little distracted. I'm just gonna leave it at distracted lately. So, I might post another video after this one. So, but the theories, going into the theories, coming straight from Spider-Man No Way Home. Okay. Let's start with Tobey Maguire. Okay, with Tobey Maguire from No Way Home going into rumored Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Rumored is that he's supposed to be in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So, from No Way Home into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, he do what he does in that movie. And then, if he wants, and if, Sam Raimi wants to do, Spider-Man 4, then give, Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire another solo Spider-Man 4. And, even though Spider-Man 3 did feel like a good close to the trilogy. But like I said, if they want to do it, allow them to do at least the Spider-Man 4 and then close it. And then, maybe before or after Spider-Man 4, goes into the animated Spider-Man movie Into the Spider-Verse 2/part 1, or they could be on part 2 of Into the Spider-Verse. And then, and when I mean they, I'll get to that. And then, in Spider-Man 4, which if Kevin Feige and Sony allows more like Sony or Kevin Feige or both, allows Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire to do another solo Spider-Man movie. That's how I can see Spider-Man 4 to be. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, his Mary Jane, lives a happy, peaceful, normal wife and husband life, family life. And I also thought, well, okay, yes, in the comics, Spider-Man and Mary Jane has a daughter, but instead of them having a daughter, I thought, why not they have a son? And including it would make Tobey Maguire's universe a little more further different. Because if the MCU wanted to do if they wanted to give Tom Holland a child with his MJ, they could do the daughter, but also in Tobey Maguire's universe of Spider-Man, um, um, this would be sad to say that his Aunt May would not be returning because in this one, um, that between Spider-Man 3 and 4, his Aunt May died. They already did the funeral, but at times, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and his aunt and his Mary Jane will go to their graves, go talk to them when they feel like they need somebody to talk to. Um, but instead of Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and his Mary Jane having a daughter, I thought, why not they have a son? And they could name their son after the person uh Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and his MJ was completely dearly close to. And to me this made sense that the one the one extra person that they felt close to was Harry Osborn. Well, Harry Osborn died. I personally felt like if they didn't kill off Harry Osborn, MJ would have left Peter and would have went with Harry Osborn, and Peter would have fixed things between him and Gwen Stacy. But since Harry Osborn died, Peter still ended up with Mary Jane. Mary Jane still ended up with Peter. And they would have a son. They would name their son to represent their friend Harry Osborn. Name him Harry. Give their son the name Harry Watson Parker. The last name from Mary Jane and the last name from Peter, but his first name would be from their friend Harry Osborn. The villain, I thought of very deep and very hard about this one. Who could be the villain for Spider-Man 4? The fourth, well, actually, I can't really say the fourth. Basically, who would be the sixth villain Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man faced with? And I thought, by going over and over and over the Sam Raimi / Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy, who could it be? Who would be the best villain that we may have seen already, or we may not have yet seen? And I thought, for the hell of it, in Spider-Man 3, we had 3 villains. Yeah, that was a bit of a unstable glass trying to stay together movie, but why not in Spider-Man 4 we have not just one villain, and not 3 villains, definitely not 2 villains, just 2 complete villains. One of them can be a villain that we have seen before, and that would be Mysterio. And the only reason why I'm allowing Mysterio is because Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire's trilogy, Spider-Man trilogy, was building up if you actually, you will agree with me if you go back and watch the trilogy, was building up to a Mysterio type villain. In the first movie, when Peter was about to box, it was the guy with the microphone, which was the same actor from Evil Dead that played Ash. In Spider-Man 2, it was the guy that took the tickets and made sure the doors was open and closed when with the show Mary Jane was doing, which was played by the same actor from the first movie into the second. And then in the third movie, it was he played a guy that as a French guy in a French restaurant. Um uh and basically the actor that played in all three of those movies, hinting up to Mysterio, was played by the same actor in the straight three films. Um, basically that played Ash Williams in the Evil Dead franchise. But so that is why I am allowing to myself to say Mysterio would be one of the villains I would allow to see in Spider-Man 4, because we were hinted at it 3 times in 3 movies. We were somewhat built up to it, and we didn't get it, but we got it in Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie. But I do gotta say, we are, us Spider-Man fans, us Spider-Man villain fans, are should be allowed to see Tobey Maguire's Mysterio to happen. That would be the first or second villain in Spider-Man 4. Mysterio could be the main villain, the side villain, whoever, whatever. The second villain that could be the main or side villain on the side of Mysterio could be, I want to say, I want to say, I want to say, okay, this one's a hard one. I still don't know who could it be, because I'm like, we could get Carnage. I mean, we have Venom, and they could quote that we could get Carnage, another version of Carnage in a different universe, just like how we have so far having 3 Venoms, Tobey Maguire's, Tom Hardy, and Tom Holland. We might as well get a Carnage with Tobey Maguire. Um, which that would be cool. We could get, I wanna say, yeah, that, I would have to say it would have to be Carnage, because to me it would kind of make sense, because Sony wanted Venom to be in Spider-Man 3. Basically, yeah, they could quote, it's been this many years, but somehow the piece of Venom survived this long, And now we're gonna get Carnage. Which Carnage could be the main villain in Spider-Man 4, and Mysterio would be the side villain. Which that would be great. That would really fuck with not Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So Andrew Garfield. We're gonna do Andrew Garfield. Well, actually, wait. Let's finish the whole storyline of Tobey Maguire. Basically, start out with a happy beginning. Set one scene where it shows Mysterio coming in. Show that Mysterio's going to prison, but later on we get meet to the main villain, which is Carnage, and Carnage breaks out of prison, but not just himself. He breaks Mysterio out of prison because Carnage knows he can't take Spider-Man alone. Somewhat 3 villains failed, but what not just 2 villains? I mean, Mysterio just gives the direct hardest punch Mysterio could give. And with Carnage, bloodthrust, thirsty, evil, venomish character that we somewhat already have seen, but not in Tobey's universe yet, against Tobey. Now that would be a great fighting, and then happy ending, and then close movie saga, trilogy, or whatever you still want to call it. Now onto Andrew Garfield's motion from No Way Home. Jumping off from No Way Home with Andrew Garfield, basically, we could get The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and The Amazing Spider-Man 3, basically, we could get Venom, for sure, because if we get Carnage and the Spider-Man 4, we might as well get Venom in The Amazing Spider-Man 3. And then, so that would be one villain. We could get 2 villains in The Amazing Spider-Man 3, which this would be great, because The Amazing Spider-Man 3 could be a 2-part. The Amazing Spider-Man 3 could be a 2-part, where we have 3, which is part 1, and then we have part 2, which we could throw this in. Venom is the main villain for number 3, which I don't want I know everybody's saying that Tom Hardy's Venom is Andrew Garfield's Venom, that Tom Hardy's Venom and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is into the same universe, when that's incorrect. That is a complete red error that it would have for both universe. That would be a complete another downfall for the Amazing Spider-Man series movies, and a first complete downfall for the Tom Hardy's movies. Is that, yeah, I get it, Sony wants a Spider-Man in the Tom Hardy's universe, which they could simply still do that, just not with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, because if Sony thinks about it, stop and think about it, go over one of the scenes in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 that they already showed the Venom symbiote floating in Oscorp. It was already in Oscorp. They didn't bring it from space. Well, of course they would have to bring it from space, but basically trying to recon the ending for the Amazing Spider-Man 2, or somewhat the ending for the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they tried to erase a little bit of part of that and show in Tom Hardy's Venom that it's the whole space whatever story. Then no, have it escape in the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Have it escape from Oscorp somehow, some way. Have the symbiote, Venom symbiote, escape from Oscorp. Like it, just it escapes. Like, let's just say, out of freaking nowhere, Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker says, let's just take a trip back to Oscorp. It breaks out of its containment unit that they have it in and lashes itself onto him. He brings it home, he gets a suit, yada yada yada. Eddie Brock, they both fight each other at the end. Happy ending. And then part 2 of the Amazing Spider-Man, which is technically the Amazing Spider-Man 4. And the only reason why I want to give Andrew Garfield at least 2 more movies is because we get to see this. And to me, it just clicked in my head. If Tobey Maguire gets a Carnage, why not Andrew Garfield? Because sooner or later, if Tobey Maguire gets a Carnage, Tom Holland's gonna get a Carnage, and everybody's gonna beg for Andrew Garfield get another movie, and he gets a Carnage. So, after The Amazing Spider-Man 3, which is part 1, part 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 4, there's a Carnage, and we get to see that delicious, awesome team up that we didn't get to see in Venom Let There Be Carnage, where Venom and Carnage teams up, takes down Spider-Man, and Spider-Man realizes he can't take on the both of them. He can't just take on Carnage. Venom can't just take on Carnage. So Venom and Spider-Man team up, takes down Carnage, and boom, happy ending. Once again, close on the trilogy or saga, whatever you want to do for Andrew Garfield, just like whatever you want to say on the how many movies. So I just thought of that. Also for Andrew Garfield, I thought don't I get it. The Mary Jane Peter Parker love story is a very hot and billion-dollar storyline to go on, but what we have not seen before. Okay, to me, through The Amazing Spider-Man 3, we should get this as well. We can be introduced to Spider-Gwen, which they could bring back Emma Watson as Spider-Gwen, as she was originally cast, but they bring her back for The Amazing Spider-Man 3, show that she's from a different universe, and from that different universe, Spider-Gwen, she meets the Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, and they both fall in love, Andrew Garfield is still having the whole phobia, not holding his punches back, still, uh, uh, because he's still going through that kind of dark path. Is that yeah, I didn't get to say Gwen, which sucks. Which I should have closure by now because I saved Tom Holland's love interest, but that only gave me a certain amount of closure, but also made it worse. Which it can do that to a person. If you're able to save one person but not the other, like let's just say you weren't able to save one person, but a year later or a month later you got to save this person that you may love or just a random citizen. It can fuck you up and make you question yourself. Why? Why was I able to save that person but not the person I love or the person that I was meant to fail to save? So, we get introduced to Emma Stone's different universe. Spider-Gwen, she meets Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, and they both fall in love. Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man finds closure thanks to Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen finds closure thanks to Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, and happy ending for both of them. And also, um, and then, and then into part 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 4, that's when we get to just see our great own battle between Spider-Man, Carnage, and Venom against Carnage and Spider-Man and all that great, awesome action scenes. But so, and then from there, we can see Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man go straight into the animated movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Part 1 or Part 2. Just like Tobey Maguire. And then Tom Holland, I have a little more stretch on that. And since I was at work when I'm a dishwasher, and while doing the dishes, I try and do the dishes and also think about stuff to make the time go a little faster. And but so I thought, since we couldn't see the college or high school Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, I thought for Tom Holland universe, since they're all three different, in Tom Holland's universe, we can see Spider-Gwen exist in Tom Holland's universe. She will go to college with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and she Peter Parker, Tom Holland, Peter Parker won't date this Gwen Stacy because he will have the phobia. But once he finds out that she gets bitten by her own spider, her and him forms a spider group. But before she comes along in the picture, this is how I actually thought. Okay, Tom Holland's Spider-Man 6, 7, 8, a few team-up films between there. That, and Spider-Man 6, that,